Hello, and welcome to the webinar, The Key to Overcoming Challenges and Building a Thriving Construction Business, sponsored by Lecia GPS and hosted by forconstructionpros.com. My name is Jonathan, editor of Concrete Contractor Magazine. Thank you for joining us today. Before we begin, I'd like to point out some handy features for today's webinar. There should be a tool on the left side of your screen for you to enter and submit questions. Feel free to type in and submit throughout the webinar. We'll try and address any technical questions as soon as possible directly. For anything else, we've set some time at the end of our presentation for our expert panelists to discuss. We'll try and get to as many as we can. Your screen should also include a window for additional resources, which should provide a short list of helpful links provided by today's sponsor and speakers. Today's webinar is being recorded and will be on demand within 24 hours afterwards. You'll find it through the link that was sent to you for registering or on the forconstructionpros.com website. Atlas Excavating, Inc., based in West Lafayette, Indiana, performs all aspects of site civil construction and earthwork for industrial, institutional, commercial, and residential sites. For more than 30 years, the family-owned business focused on public sewer work and subdivisions. Over the last several years, they've more than doubled their team size, triggered a growth boom, and developed the ability to take on much larger projects at the highest levels of quality and professionalism, all while the construction industry is experiencing an unprecedented labor shortage. So the big question that we have today is, how did they do this? Today, we're going to go behind the scenes on their extraordinary growth journey in an in-depth Q&A with Casey Dillon, president and CEO of the company, and Andrew Dodson, Earthwork manager. But first, we have a short video for you. Let's watch some of their story.
So my parents started the company in the 80s. They literally started with a backhoe and a dump truck. My dad ran the backhoe and my mom ran the dump truck.
As my parents were growing the company, there's things that are the complications of growth, and traditionally it's cash and it's being able to buy equipment. And when we figure out how to solve some of those problems, you can literally buy more equipment. We can't get more people, and so you can say, well, I need a grader guy that's got 30 years experience. There's not that many out there. So you go, okay, well, how can technology help? How can I get a grader that has the ability to do the quality we need, and how does the technology help us get the tolerances we need for grade?
What made us change to go into all GPS stuff is we were trying to grade a parking lot old school way with string lines, tape measures, and it just got to the point that there was a stake every 10 feet and the equipment couldn't fit between them. So we ended up having to hire somebody else that had grade control GPS stuff to come do it for us, and we just thought that was ridiculous. Like, we need to step into the newer technology and do this ourselves. And that's when we decided to jump into one dozer, and we started grading all our own parking lots and roads with one dozer. Then you start seeing the advantage of doing that, so then it just expanded into something else, and then a grader, and then excavators, and it just grew.
And just learning that process, and roads have a different tolerance than building pads, and figuring out when to go laser and when to go, zone, and when to go off of GPS. I mean, there's different reasons to do different things, and when you're uninformed or you're new to this, you look at that as options. Like, well, here's, I'm not sure which one we want and which one's better. Different situations call for different things, and that's the flexibility that Lecia gives us, is what's needed for today's project. And it's a tool belt of things you can do depending what you have to get done that day.
I mean, it was a game changer. You could see the savings that you had, not only on the manpower, but on time on the machine. Things that used to take 2-3 labors to grade out in front of you with string lines and paint cans, that went away.
The operators have, enough to do. Just being in the machine, that's tough on a person, and they're worried about their surroundings and people, especially on these bigger site jobs that encompass more than just our trade.
It just makes their jobs easier and smoother. They know where they're at on the job site all the time, grade and elevation wise, so they can see a lot more and see the whole picture without having to stop, grab a foreman, open up a set of plans. It's on a screen right in front of them.
I always tell people that this whole part of the company, the office side of the company, exists for the sole purpose of making the guys in the field's lives as easy as possible. That's, without them physically doing the work, none of this matters.
Originally we had some frustrations with people because they just didn't know how it worked. So, it did take some training and some coaxing to get some of the older guys to get into liking it, but they all really like it now, and they don't want to do anything without it.
I think I ran it for 2 days before it became natural. Naturally, you want to react a lot quicker than you're thinking, I need to pull this back fast, but for it to hold grade, you're not as quick as you want to. You're not pulling. I was fighting the machine, basically, and there's no need to.
I think initially it was the user interface on both the dozer screen and the rover. They were a lot more user friendly, a lot more intuitive than the competitors.
Yeah, they do feel a little bit more confident in what they're doing. They at least know that it's right. They're not second guessing a grade checker or second guessing what a foreman's telling them. They can see exactly where they're at, what's going on, what needs to go where. So it's given them some advantage so those guys that are sitting in a dozer or an excavator to have the knowledge that they, without having to ask somebody else.
The surveyor was out here, and we were just comparing ours with his, just to make sure we were on the same, and we were within, I think, 200ths difference. So I can live with that.
Money's not the only thing. It costs what it costs to do the work. Doing it right, well, there's pride in that. There's everybody has an ego. Everybody wants to be the best. Everybody wants to be the fastest.
Yeah, the reports we're getting now are way more accurate than the guy out there with a tape measure and a wheel trying to wheel stuff off. The guys are getting exact quantities in. They can shoot exact corners on building pads to show that stuff is done. They can record and as-built their own information. They can record and as-built roads when they're done grading them. It's changed the game on being able to record and get the data in here instantly.
Going into it, I just hope that it would make our quality. It would improve our quality. It would improve our speed. I never thought about it changing the way the relationships that we have to build trust.
A lot of people anymore, it's come down to where you have to prove yourself. This industry's changed to where a handshake is no longer. You need to prove yourself, and the rover, we can take our as-built shots on anything we want and send them to our office directly within minutes, and Andrew has all the information. He can go back through the plans, check, and make sure that we're within compliance or we're right at.
So the technology has changed a lot of the back and forth between GC or owner and us, the subcontractor, where we can show with the technology that we've done what we say we've done, and it's right. That's a huge change in, we're not just saying I'm right. Here's my data and all this data that shows that we built it per the intent of the design.
Yeah, we've had a lot of clients even now that are starting to write into their specs and standards that they want GPS as-builts on building pads before their next subcontractor comes in, before the footing guy shows up. They want GPS as-builts, and we just do it ourselves now without having to call a third party.
People don't want to have delays. People don't want to have rework. Everybody schedules, start to finish, start to finish, start to finish. And if you say, hey, I'm done with the road, oh, but now I need 3 more days to go fix it. I mean, they've got the paver guy sitting there waiting on you. So yeah, you got to be able to hit schedules. You got to do it right the first time. You got to be able to build quality as you're going. It's not hurry up and build it and then go check quality later. It's got to be done right as you're going every day. And that's got to be part of your daily process of getting started in the morning, of where am I at? Am my elevations right? Am I checked in? Is my blade wear corrected? Am I building a quality product as I'm going?
I have it on my phone and I can walk somewhere and I can tell you if it's low or high. It's perfect. It can tell me if I'm standing right here, this 2-foot cut, or, you're on grade. I can just pull it up. It locates me and I can tell you. It's awesome.
Yeah, the technology in the business has changed dramatically over the 25 years I've done this. It's been amazing to see, between GPS on job sites to rovers on job sites, machine control. I mean, all of that stuff has just been amazing. An iPad in your hand that is sharing data information that they're collecting in a rover that we can send directly to a foreman on a job site while he has an iPad in his hand. I mean, that stuff is just amazing. You can share information instantly. The stuff is automatic. I mean, flipping a switch in a dozer and putting something on grade is just crazy to me. I mean, like I said, it doesn't take 3 guys pulling a string line anymore. It's 1 guy in a dozer, 1 guy with a rover, checking grade, buzzing right down a road, putting stone down, or checking grade. It's not a fleet of people anymore. So it has been amazing to see change. I mean, just the quality of all the stuff that we have out there in the field anymore. It's not just a dirty, grimy job for some ditch digger. There's a lot of technology out there. There's a lot of smart stuff.
Down the path, I think the construction person is becoming more of a construction professional. I think we're catching up to the professional world, with the implementation of technology and just the way we interact with each other, with the outside world.
I think, in construction, people can give you, that you're a, roughneck, or you're, a ditch digger, you're not complicated, and maybe we use foul language. But people have pride, and they want to build quality, and they want to be the best.
I mean, all of that stuff is what makes you more competitive in the business. So it has helped tremendously. It's helped with, the fleet of people. If you don't have to have the 60-year-old dozer guy anymore, you can have the 25-year-old dozer guy that can put a high-quality work out there.
The old way's not an option anymore, and that's how grade control and technology works now. You can still do it. It can be done by hand. You can go out there and put stakes and lath, and you can do it. It's just slower, and it's not as accurate. So it takes longer, it costs more. And so then the question is, are we going to keep doing it that way, or are we going to go with the new way? I mean, I don't think we came out of the Stone Age because they ran out of rocks.
What a great story. So inspirational. I love that last line of we didn't come out of the Stone Age because we ran out of rocks. I love it. I definitely want to know more. So I am thrilled to be able to welcome Casey Dillon, President and CEO of Atlas Excavating, and Andrew Dodson, Earthwork Manager, also of Atlas, to our program. I want to tell you a little bit about them before we really get going. Casey attended Valparaiso University, I apologize if I destroyed that name, to study mechanical engineering and play football. He had worked for Atlas for more than 32 years in shop management, estimating, project management before taking on the role of president and CEO. Casey believes that the best thing about working at Atlas is helping people become their best, finding raw talent and helping bring their skills to levels that they previously didn't think was possible. He believes that good data is the key to making good decisions. And his love of technology is apparent in everything he does and helps keep Atlas at the forefront of technology in construction. With us also is Andrew. He has been with Atlas for more than 15 years with a focus on project management. An adept problem solver and visionary thinker, Andrew enjoys exploring the potential of technology. He holds a BS in construction management from Indiana State University. Okay, so what I'd like to do now is talk through some of what we saw in that video and talk about some of the trends happening in the industry. First, let's address skilled labor. Surprise. Everyone in construction is struggling with the labor situation, and I'm sure Atlas is no exception. Even if you want to hire more people, there just aren't enough people looking for work in construction right now. But Atlas Excavating has had a lot of success in retaining employees and creating an attractive work environment for new hires. So let's talk about that for a minute. How would you describe the turnover at Atlas Excavating?
We don't have a lot of turnover. We're very selective of getting people on our team. We want people with the right culture and the right values. And generally that, it's good family people that have young kids that want to play youth sports and, show up to work hard because I want to leave. I want to go help coach my little league, my kids in little league practice. That's important to me. So I know it's important to my people. And when you talk to somebody on the job site and they say, hey, I get to leave at a reasonable hour and go be a part of my kids' lives. And then I get to work all winter. I mean, it's managing their cash flow, understanding their needs, and not just thinking that they're a number that can be taken advantage of and just worked hard and then sent home. That really helps us get the best people. So, attracting people to the industry, yeah, it's definitely hard. Having the best people in the industry work for a great company, that's a little bit easier. So we really focus on, be a great place to work, get the best people to work for us, and that's been fairly successful for us.
Yeah, I think finding that work to home balance for employees, even an officer worker like myself, is extremely important. It's just really going out and saying, hey, you can do this job and still find that balance. You can still coach the Little League game or attend that bowling league if you really want to. What do you hear from employees? How do they like working for Atlas?
I mean, I've been here for 15 years. Since I graduated from college, I haven't left. I mean, I think that speaks to the family environment, the care that Casey and Nick's parents and now them, how they care for the people that work for them. I think that's why we retain people.
That's pretty cool. I think it's a unique story coming from you right out of college, and you're still here.
Which is uncommon when you see people's resumes that move every couple of years. I mean, we're just not hiring those guys. I mean, sometimes, when we're trying to grow and we have a growth initiative, it seems obvious, well, you should go hire somebody that has experience and you're going to grow faster. But we know that's a short-term solution to a long-term problem because that guy's probably going to leave as soon as something better comes along. Where it's like, if we can hire some kids right out of Purdue, right out of Indiana State, right out of college with a construction degree, teach them our process, teach them our way of doing things, they probably stay for a long time. Is it the industry? Is it the the age of the people, the millennials of, lack of commitment, or is it, maybe we got some companies that aren't really given values that people want to stick around and be a part of. And, we just try to manage people the way we'd want to be managed and want to be dealt with and treat them like humans. And it's been fairly successful that people stick around a long time.
Yeah, treating them like humans. I think that's the big key right there. And you brought up like millennials and younger generations. And I constantly hear that the younger generations were brought up with more and more technology and are probably used to having that technology integrated throughout their lives. What role does technology play in attracting and retaining that talent?
Well, that's a good one. I mean, Andrew goes to some of our job fairs, and, of course, if we can show lasers and drones and GPS and, just show all this cool technology, people come to our table. I mean, you can speak to it if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, I go to high school, college job fairs. I mean, a lot of those I also do some filming for the people putting on the job fair. And that is always a huge attractor. I mean, at least that starts a conversation, gets kids coming to you and showing some interest. And then we grow it from there.
It must be quite a shock to walk through a job fair, not really understanding that there might be a drone sitting on a table and you can actually utilize it to pretty extensive use on the job site. For those students must have like this, whoa, this is actually more exciting than a shovel and a sledgehammer.
Yeah, I mean, most of the kids today, like you said, they play video games. They're on their cell phones. They probably have a small drone that's fun to fly around, as a toy. And then you go out there and go, look, we're going to take that little thing and we're going to put it over here with real-time kinematics to be able to go fly, job site stockpiles and calculate quantities in real time. And they go, oh, that's not just fun. That's actually productive. And then Andrew usually has some video set up of showing the drone flying, the processing of the image, the calculation quantities. I mean, when you show like, yeah, this is what I do. We have people that do this all the time. They're like, wow, that's amazing. I want to be a part of that. That's different than, like you said, just shoveling, digging a hole in the ground.
Yeah. I'd like to stick with technology, but switch it a little bit towards machine control. One of the benefits we often hear about machine control technology is that it makes beginner operators good and good operators great. What have you found in practice? I believe there was a situation with John Deere demonstration excavator or demo excavator.
Yeah, that's a good. So, I mean, obviously, you heard the story from my brother about the grading and the, trying to get into the dozer and like, well, we started with one and then we got two more. And the next thing you got 8 more. And so you could really intellectually understand the grading part of it. And then, we keep seeing these demos and they send me an email that, hey, you should try a grade control on an excavator. I'm like, man, we got the best excavator guys. We don't need that. We're just that good. And I think Leica set one up on a John Deere and Westside Tractor brought it over, dropped off, said, look, it's just a demo, just try it out. And I think we were digging an underground detention system and Sean that was on the video ran it for a day. And he's like, you got to come and see this. Like, this is a game changer. Like we have to have these. This is what we're doing. And my brother like, well, that was an expensive demo. But yeah, and now all of our dirt equipment that excavators have GPS on them. And, we kind of went into it thinking we could eliminate an entire dozer on the cut side, and maybe we can probably eliminate a half a dozer on the cut side. But it is more productive. It is faster. It is cheaper, and it's just an amazing process to see. The guy out there on the dozer has a screen on that can show him where he's at and how he can cut the cross slope and cut it pretty darn close the first time through. It's pretty amazing.
Well, do you find any like time savings right there?
Well, for sure. What's uncaptured, hard to see from a history is, I think any construction company could say, if I can bid exactly what we can do, then we can make money, right? And so what was uncaptured is, unintentionally, but if you're moving dirt twice and you don't know it, it's kind of absorbed into your cost. So if your average cost history includes 10% of rework and you don't know it's rework, that's just kind of your cost history moving forward. And then when you get to start using machine control and all of a sudden, it's not that you're moving more cubic yards a day, or it's not that you're going any faster. It's just that you're not doing things twice. And all of a sudden your unit prices are going down. So yes, does it save time? For sure. Does it cost less? For sure. And then that point of you have more accuracy that you can sell on a tighter time frame and you can hit deadlines. That's where it sells it.
And I think the thing you can't put a price on is the mistakes you don't make.
Yeah.
You can't quantify that dollar-wise. So.
And so when somebody comes to us when we first start this and say, oh, you're going to be 30% more efficient in grading And you're like, we already have the best people. Like, there's no way somebody can be 30% faster. Well, then you go do it, and you're like, oh yeah, it's at least 30%, maybe 50% faster. So, and it's not necessarily that the blade, the dozer, the grader goes faster in miles per hour. It's just the rough cut was closer, the fine grade was closer, the last pass is spot on, and your tolerances are tighter, and it's more efficient. It's just cheaper to do. It takes less time overall.
Sure. What does your onboarding process look like? How do you make sure that your employees are trained to use the technology to its full advantage?
I think that's a growing process. We first started, we took our core guys and we kind of sat them in front of the screens and we all kind of learned together. Now it's more hands-on with with Bryce, who does a lot of the hands-on fixing them when they're broken stuff. He also, teaches all the dozer guys how to hit the buttons, what buttons do what, and we've got videos. Westside has put together videos. Like has put together videos for us. We built a little website for the dozer guys to go use just internally. So,
when you first start
so it's like virtual training.
Yeah, so we've got some QR codes on dozers. I had to do blade wear adjustments. They could hit on their cell phone. Early on, I would say, if you get it set up and everything's working, you flip the switch and it appears to be magic. We'll come to find out there's a lot of hard work to make that magic happen. And so understanding control, understanding how to calibrate, understanding a blade wear, it's like when they figure out not only is I just flip the magic switch, I got to have some way to check what I did is right. And then so that's the learning process of like, you got to teach them how to crawl first and then walk and then they're running. And when they figure out how to do quality at full speed, that's when they're really proficient.
And what about those employees that are kind of already know how to walk and run, if you will, those existing employees that want to grow their skill sets? Do you have a path or a process in place for them to learn and grow?
Well, I would say early on, Nick probably addressed it in some of the video. There was a little skepticism. Why do you need this? Because you must think I'm not doing my job well. And no, that's not the case. That's not the case at all. It's just, how do we do better? How do we take your 25 years experience and get you better? And, I want to say the first time that I saw us, we're digging a pond and there's a, 3-to-1 slope and he goes around a radius corner and we're putting topsoil down and the dozer's putting topsoil down in like third gear, perfect on grade. Like, oh yeah, you can't do that by hand. You can't go that fast doing that. And when you show a guy doing that and they're like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, we should probably do it that way. That's awesome. The proof's in the pudding. So when you're starting off and it's the first guy, some skepticism. The second guy, all right, maybe. And then after we're 8 or 10 of them, it's just like, yeah, this is the way you do it. There's just no question about it. And I think the industry is going that way. I mean, if you drive up and down the interstate, almost every road job you see, there's no lath and stake out there. It's all GPS masts and booms, and you can see that's what everybody's using. It's maybe as short as 5 years ago it was spotty, but now it's almost a required minimum barrier of entry to have the technology.
I think there was a story about somebody bringing on a drone and somebody had to become a pilot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, probably been 5 years ago, we decided to jump into doing some, what do you call that?
Pre-site surveys to verify the existing ground before we started. We'd get done with the job and there'd be a huge pile of dirt there and like, where'd the dirt come from?
Right. So utilizing some photogrammetry, that's the word I was looking for. We thought that we could get even better with the technology than we were already getting with the GPS. And as we grew, that I actually had to step out of we made the decision for me to step out of being a project manager and go full time into kind of managing this growing section of the company. And we bought a drone it took a while to figure out what we were doing with that thing, and then to get licensed and find the right software. But eventually, I had a laborer out in the field, and he showed some interest. He showed some smarts, and kind of raised his hand and said, "Hey, I'd be interested in doing more." And that opportunity was there, kind of right person, right time, right seat.
Get them the education, show them the videos of how to get the drone certifications, and start going through the training process, and documenting that so we know the quality control to make sure we're doing it right every time.
Sure. Are you using a quadcopter or a fixed wing drone or anything?
It's a quadcopter. It's a DJI Phantom 4 RTK.
Okay, cool.
But we have looked at the fixed wings, and we're not there yet.
Yeah, they're
Andrew
a
and I
little.
always have a wish list.
Yeah, they're a little bit more mobile.
For much bigger sites, I think it's really, we got jobs last year that were taking multiple batteries because they were so big, based on the grid that we want to cover to get the accuracy we want, and the fixed wing stuff just goes faster, so you get better battery life, so you can get a bigger site done in less time.
So Atlas Excavating has gone through a significant transformation within the last several years. At one point, you were basically a pipelaying company focused on small commercial sites. Today, you're performing all aspects of site civil construction and earthwork for industrial, institutional, commercial, and residential sites, including large 500,000 square foot projects, which is holy moly. As we saw in the video at the beginning of the session, technology has been a key enabler for your growth. Can you take us back to when you first started thinking about making a technology investment? What was that evaluation process like?
That's a good question. Nick's story of, I think we were grading, I think about like a park ride and fly if you go to the airport, where they have all the grading goes like this all the way across the parking lot, and you put a bunch of lath out there because you got, slopes going both directions, and you get out there like there's not enough room to drive a pickup truck through here, much less do the grading. And some guy's like, well, yeah, that's why you have a GPS, and you get rid of all the lath, and they just cut it perfect. Like, oh, yeah, we should probably do that. We should probably go down that path. So part of it was complexity of small sites. And then as you say, okay, well, now we have one, let's go do this site. And wow, that used to take 4 days, and now we can do it 2 days. And then as you start growing and evolving that, you get better and better at it. And then, as we started going towards the excavator model, and we started doing bigger cubic yards jobs, bigger square foot buildings, it gave us some confidence to say, okay, well, we're going to take this process that works and just add another one over here and get that running. And then the ability for Andrew to be able to remote monitor and check quality and quantities, and not have to be the only guy that can do it. That's really what helped us kind of scale up quickly.
Sure. What do you think is driving that complication of these sites?
Well, I don't know about complication. I would say that's just what you have to do. Okay. There for the last couple of years, there's been so much work in the industry, and with not enough people out there to do it, you got to figure out how to get the quality of work done, get the capacity of work done with either less people or maybe less skilled people new to the industry. If you look around most construction sites, and we're probably no different than anybody else on the call here, we got a whole group of people that are 50 years age of older, and we got a whole group of people that are 30 years and younger. There's just not a lot in the middle there. And so it's like we got to get the young guys the experience of the old guys. We got to keep the old guys around long enough to keep things flowing, and then just keep chunking in young guys below them and teach them our values and our processes to keep this thing going long term.
And one thing I like really about this industry is a lot of the technology is coming from the construction world. So they're workers, and then they go into technology and develop solutions, and then they give back to the construction industry. So their solutions are even more ingenious and innovative, if you will. Can you tell us how you decided on Leica Geosystems technology? How did you get to the point where you felt confident about moving forward?
Well, I think it was a trusted, business partner. Westside Tractor has had our back for a long time. Our John Deere dealer, and that's who we kind of trusted, leaned on. That's the people they were standing behind. So we were going to stand behind Westside Tractor.
Yeah, and when let's say maybe we felt like we were late to the game compared to some other brands or people or companies out there. We get to start from scratch. We got to look at them all and say, look, this is the path we're going to go down. What do we think is the easiest to use for our team and our people? And based on our experience and knowledge, we thought the Leica offered the most, the best screens with the easiest to understand icons to get up and running quicker for people who didn't know it. And maybe it was just us learning how to do it, but it's continued to evolve that way as we get new guys into the industry. Very intuitive. They know what they're going to get. They can repeat it. And it's been that way since the whole time. But yeah, Westside helped us along the way, and then Leica's been a great partner to software updates, corrections. I think we have annual meetings with them of what's working, what's not working, where do we need to look for the future. That partnership from the manufacturer, John Deere, from our retailer to Leica. That is it's almost all connected. So how do we work together to make sure we all have success? That commitment's what that drives us to stick together with Leica.
Yeah, that commitment, that communication, is our big keys in this whole making things work. Can you tell us about the process of implementing the technology? Is there anything you wish you could have done differently or lessons learned?
Well, we goofed up a lot of stuff. So anybody's got our email, just get a hold of us. We'll give you the list. Would you say training? Understanding the complexities of control and double checking.
Yeah, you have to have base level understanding of some surveying principles. I think that was a big learning curve for us.
Well, we figured, some surveyors that we worked with for 20 years, that you have confidence they know what they're doing, and then they go out there and like, well, wait a second, you don't do it like this other guy does, and we really like how that works. And then you start figuring out like, yeah, don't put those control points right in the middle of the road. We want to put them over here where we're not going to damage them. So really understanding they work for us. We got to have our own quality control process that's repeatable and is, off out of the way, that's not going to get damaged, so we can confirm we did it right later. That figuring that out took us a little bit.
And another thing that we learned pretty quickly was that you don't have to do all the modeling and all the back end stuff yourself. You can outsource that until you get more comfortable with it, or you can stay with it outsourced. I still use an outside company to build 85% of our models, and that process works. It's been working. I'm not about to change it.
We try to look at it of where's the biggest risk we have, and what can we outsource that doesn't cost us a whole lot more money, but reduces our errors or our mistakes that are very expensive that nobody else catches. So the accuracy of that model coming out is important, and the industry's more open than it used to be as far as engineers sharing CAD files. Sometimes there's a waiver they want us to sign. But literally, our estimating team, if we call somebody and they want us to bid a job, and we say, well, we need the CAD files to do the dirt takeoff, they go, yeah, we're not giving the CAD files. Like, yeah, we're not bidding it. If you're not going to give us CAD files, we're not going to build your job, because you hired an engineer that doesn't have the right stuff. That's going to be a real 3D design, and it's going to be a mess when we get there. And we took a couple of those jobs where the plans look like they're three-dimensional, and you get them, they're actually all 2D drawings with just numbers on them, and you have to recreate the entire thing. And by the time you recreate it, you figure out they got a lot of mistakes. A lot of things don't drain the right direction they're supposed to. They can draw arrows and pictures, but if it doesn't work three-dimensionally, it doesn't work in real life. So that's part of our check and quality control with our ag tech process to see that 3D. There's some videos there of Andrew flying around you get a great idea where the job's supposed to flow and work when you can see it three-dimensionally.
And AgTech's actually a sister company of Leica. And so those two, that integration between the two is a lot more seamless than you would think.
We've built subdivisions for a local developer here in town. And let's just say the dirt balance on jobs is always a question, right? Well, one particular job, we had to raise the pads a couple feet. Well, then when the thing gets done, the subdivision gets done, the houses are built, the driveways are pretty steep. So he drives me out there and says, man, Casey, we just can't do this in the future. We can't have driveways this steep. Fast forward three years later, we're doing the flying beforehand, and we're showing them the drones. You need to come to our office and put them on the big screen and drive around the job site. And I can show him that the backyard swales and the driveways are going to be as steep as the job he didn't like. I'm like, we have to fix this. You're not going to be happy when we're done. And when he could see it visually, he's like, yeah, you're right. We got to do something different. We got to change our plan here. And it actually, and we have a great relationship with that guy now because he knows and trusts that we're good at what we do.
Before we continue, I would like to remind everybody that there is a question window for you that you can enter anything you would like. Any questions that you have for our panelists here, we'll answer them shortly. I think you were talking about those missing those mistakes, and you earlier mentioned it was missing the mistakes that you don't make. The cost of doing that, you have no idea. This technology sounds like it's really helping there. How would you summarize the impact technology has had on your business and your ability to serve your clients?
It used to be a selling feature. Now it's standard practice. I mean, this is what it's required to do. Again, said it in the video, but if we go grade a building pad, a parking lot, a road, we need to have a quality as built when we're done, electronically, not just a tape measure. And we need to be able to hand that off to the next person and say, look, when you put the curb in, it's going to be on grade. And those people that we work with that use the same control and the same model and we work together on, we don't have problems. And then there's other people who, nope, I'm smarter than you and I want to use my own person and I'm going to go do this another direction. Well, every time there's a bust somewhere of about 2 inches, and it's always, they're always pointing fingers at us. And Andrew can go, look, here's our quality control. We submitted it to you beforehand. This is what we're doing. Here's our quality to show we did it right. And we handed it to you before we were done. We're winning more of those arguments than we have in the past. In the past, it was always our fault. Anymore, we're winning most of those arguments.
I think there was a comment in the video of you just have that data backing you up.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, they've got cell cards in the rovers and the equipment, so he can send files to if they need a correction. We can get their as-built data back to us. We can verify it. One of those pictures on there, I think everybody's seen a 3D. AgTech view. Well, Andrew goes and flies it as we're building it. So, you can see anything that's white means there's no cut or fill. Anything that's red's cut, anything that's blue's fill. So as they're building across the subdivision, Andrew's flying it weekly or somebody's flying it weekly to figure out that's done, that's done, that's done. Oh, there's a swale here we missed. Go get that swale cut. And they can see it graphically on their phone. They can see it on their iPad. They can see it the GPS screen. So they have kind of back to the original plan, and then they have from last week's plan. So that he can quantify what work's been done from the start to now, and then as well as from now to the finish, how much do we have left to do? And that's really where we can more accurately predict when we're going to get done with something, because we know how much we can do a day, and this is what there's left to do.
Sure. Sticking with the kind of investment and return on investment of technology, for other contractors that are evaluating an investment in machine control technology, or maybe even a switch from one technology manufacturer to another, what advice would you give them on how to accelerate and maximize their return on investment?
That's a good one. Finding partners in the industry is better than just buying a solution off the shelf. Okay. There's a lot of brands out there. There's a lot of people that sell services. And if you're looking for the lowest cost, you might have some speed bumps. If you're looking for a partner to help you learn and grow and teach, that's been successful to us. And we look at it as a long-term deal. I have a few speed bumps the first section, maybe the second year, but after that, it's working together of let's get better. That's what I would suggest is find somebody in your industry who's kicking ass and who's really good at it. Talk to them. How do they do it? What are they doing? Find a good partner like Leica or John Deere or somebody who has training. People can sell stuff in a box and they can ship it to you. But if you don't have a person to call, and who do I call when something happens? I mean, those guys are some of the most important people. Is the guy that shows up and fixes the wire harness that comes loose. It's construction. It's dirty. Guys run into things. I mean, we break stuff. That's just life.
Andrew, any comments? Any advice on your end?
Like Casey said, you gotta have somebody to lean on. Having a trusted person that you can lean on was definitely a game changer. We had a guy at Leica that got multiple phone calls from me almost every day when we first started. So.
And he was always nice, and he was always pleasant. And he's like, one of these days, you're not going to call me. It's just going to take a while. So, there's 100 questions. You just got to get through them in the order you get through them.
Hey, you got questions asked, right?
That's right.
But speaking of questions, let's take a look at our submitted questions. So we have one here. What do you think is the next big trend in construction technology?
Well, that's a good one. I don't know. If I knew what it was, we'd be doing it. Obviously, we're trying to be fairly progressive and go to ConExpo and read all the websites and talk to manufacturers, and you just got to be plugged into what's going on.
Having just come back from one of those expos, I think AI and probably deeper BI, business intelligence, is going to be the next big game changer. Predictive analytics and stuff like that. So that's where the industry looks like it's going right now.
Sure. AI is going to be.
We have iPads. We have software. We can create a lot of data at this point. This industry is not known for consuming that data very efficiently. I think there's going to be a breakthrough with some sort of AI analyzing that data and saying, "Hey, look over here. This looks like a problem."
I mean, even with the drone, I create one of those 500,000 square foot buildings creates 40 million data points, and I've got to sort that down. It's like all the rest of the data in the company. We produce a lot of data, but we got to know what pieces we need to look at.
How to get rid of the noise. And right now it's a very manual process, and you got to have experience. You got to know how the technology works, how it was captured, how it's processed, and then now this is what it looks like. And you go, well, I know that's not right. That didn't look like that when I was there. And knowing the difference is what's a challenge right now.
Yeah, I think it'd be really interesting to hear the figures and the numbers involved on when you see this 3D blueprint of everything and how much paper that would have the equivalent of how much paper that would have been. That's it, just to be an impressive number, really. But it doesn't look like
we switched to iPads in the field, and I mean, we don't print paper anymore. It's our entire job books, all of our plans, all of our specs, all digital. I mean, it's not uncommon for us to build one of these big site jobs and have 12 sets of plan revisions. Electronically, you can fold in the new set and just make less mistakes building off the wrong set of plans. Where it used to be, all right, I got revision 3, you have revision 4. What's the difference? No, you got to get everybody the new plans as quick as possible. And now it's electronic, click a button, everybody's got the new plans, highlighted what was changed, make sure we verify what we're doing is right.
Yeah. And it's a technology, it's a process. You got to get to it. You got to develop a new system, and then suddenly it will work. But it does look like we're running a little bit short on time. So I'd like to wrap everything up. and bring an end to our session. To learn more about Atlas Excavating, please visit atlasexcavating.com. That's ATLASEXCAVATING.com. I believe there's a link on your screen. The BIM Learning Center by Leica Geosystems, part of Hexagon, is your one-stop destination for the latest news, trends, resources, and practical guidance on how to use technology to keep building and heavy construction projects on time and on budget. From basic tool station to 2D machine control workflows to the most advanced applications of 3D modeling and reality capture, the BIM Learning Center gives you the information you need to gain a competitive advantage. Learn more at bimlearningcenter.com, and that's spelled as it sounds. I'd like to thank Casey and Andrew of Atlas Excavating for speaking, and of course, you, for everybody, for joining us. If there were any questions that we did not have time to address today, I apologize. We'll do our best to get back to you and get those questions answered. This has been the webinar, The Key to Overcoming Challenges and Building a Thriving Construction Business, sponsored by Leica Geosystems and hosted by forconstructionpros.com. An archived version of the webinar will be available on demand at forconstructionpros.com. You can access it with the link you used for this webinar and should be able to find it online roughly 24 hours after this recording. Thank you again for attending. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody.